Hey guys, Dylan from lolcoach.academy here for patch 10.3 notes. And I'm going to do this a little bit differently to how everyone else does them. One, I'm going to be super quick. Two, I'm going to actually show you the champion win rates, ban rates, and play rates so you can kind of see where the right balanced team is coming from, but also make your own judgment on how big you think these nerfs and buffs are going to be, but also understand my logic and where I'm coming from. But before I get into this, I just wanted to let you guys know that click the link in the description to get your free profile review. I'm currently doing these for anyone and everyone. So if you want to learn kind of the secrets and tips to climb higher than you've ever done in Season 10, just click the link in the description once you've watched this video, or do it now. Thanks, guys. So let's get into the patch notes, and I'm going to start from the top. So Akali is probably the biggest change, and this is kind of the overview of what patch 10.3 is going to be about. So really the only champions that got buffed, and these are only slight buffs really, are Azir, Corki, Ezreal, Galio, Sejuani, and Yuumi. And the nerfs, the biggest nerf being to Akali, but Aphelios, Diana, Echo, Leona, Misfortune, Rumble, Senna, Set, and Sona all got nerfs as well. And Set's nerfs may be a big deal, but I'm not too sure they're actually going to impact him too much. So let's get into the first one with Akali. Akali is one of those champions where Riot has such a hard time dealing with them because in pro play and high challenger elo, Akali is super strong, really busted, because if you know how to abuse her kit, she's highly immobile, really good at ganking, really good at escaping, really good at split pushing, really good at team fight. She's kind of good at everything. And so Riot has a really hard time balancing her because she's actually got a negative win ratio, one of the lowest win ratios in top and mid in Plat plus MMR, but because of her presence in pro play and challenger and grandmaster play, she is constantly getting nerfed by the balance team. So you can see here the nerfs are quite big for her. They're actually a big deal. She's going to pretty much become unplayable diamond below. I think there might be a couple of one tricks you can still make her viable, but these increases in energy, the movement speed in Shroud, and the change in the perfect execution on it are major problems that are really going to make her suffer kind of more than she already is. And until Riot understands that they need to fix her in terms of making her balance between pro play and amateur solo queue play, that champion is just never going to be fixed. It's never going to work really properly. The next one is Aphelios, and he has been dominating the Rift ever since he came in last patch. And the problem with him is, again, they've kind of nerfed his sniper rifle, but I don't think that's the biggest problem with him. The problem with Aphelios right now is that every single gun cycle he does is way too strong. There's no weak point in his gun cycles. He can pretty much use whatever gun in whatever situation, and that's really the biggest problem. This infinite attack range on the sniper rifle really isn't a big deal. It's not a big nerf. He's still going to be played a lot. You're still going to find him dominating your games. And until they actually understand that they need to make his guns, tune them back a bit, or make some of them a lot weaker or a lot more situational than each other, and kind of make them differentiated a bit more than what they are right now, we're going to keep seeing the same problems with Aphelios, so expect to keep seeing him being played in 10.3. If you have a problem with him, I'd just recommend banning him because, one, you can't really tell what he's about to do, and that's another big problem with Aphelios, and two, people are still going to play the crap out of him in patch 10.3. The next one is Azir. This is a nice little Azir buff. Azir's really struggling at the moment, got a pretty low win ratio, and this one's an interesting one because the base stat mana, that's going to let you poke a little bit more in the early game, and that's kind of Azir's strength in laning phase. And then the Emperor's Divide, increasing the wall length by one soldier for each level up, so 6, you know the drill. That's going to be interesting because it's going to see, I think, a lot of Azir one tricks come back, but it's not really going to see the meta pick up Azir, I don't think. Azir's going to still be a niche pick. I still think he's going to struggle in win ratios. As you can see, his current win ratio, ban rate, pick rate, I still think he's going to struggle, and Riot's probably going to look to have to buff him again with this because this is just a little tweak, but really he needs a bit more work. Corki's one of the more interesting buffs because I think this is actually really good for Corki. I've played a lot of Corki in my time, and he kind of just dropped off the radar for no particular reason. He used to kind of have a spot in the mid lane, but I think he started getting outpoked, and there were just a lot better champions in the mid lane, a lot better kind of mid laners such as Diana and stuff that came in and kind of could really dominate Corki. So these additions to his W and his special delivery are actually going to be really good for him. I'm actually going to be playing him in patch 10.3, particularly in the mid lane. I might try him in AD carry, but I'm not actually sure this is going to help him much in AD carry. I think it's really going to help him in mid lane when he gets the package and he's able to roam and use that kind of as a gank mechanism. I think that's going to really benefit Corki and the players who play him. The next one is Diana. We all know, again, similar to Aphelios, Diana has been terrorizing the Rift. She's got an incredible win rate, and that's mainly because of her kit and how it relates to Conqueror. Conqueror is such a good rune on her at the moment. She procs it so quickly, and with the kind of rework she's had recently, where she can dash pre-6, she's just found her laning phases become incredibly insane, to the point that no one can really beat her in lane besides maybe a bruiser if you go mid lane. I used to use Rumble as a counter, but as we'll see, Rumble got some little nerfs. They're probably going to see him even struggle against Diana. But yeah, typical mid laners are all going to struggle against Diana, and this nerf, I guess in base stats, is kind of a big deal because it's going to make her have to decide when to poke a bit more, so it's going to weaken her laning phase a bit more. But this W nerf isn't really the problem. Her main problem is that she's got such high mobility, such an ease to get Conqueror to 10 stacks and start getting that 15% healing, and her dueling potential is pretty much second to none in terms of mid laners at the moment. So these are good nerfs, and it's a good step in the right direction by Riot's balanced team, but I still think Diana is going to be terrorizing on the Rift for at least one more patch. Echo, this is a good one because Echo, as we can see with the win rate here, has been smashing it in jungle. One of the highest win rate junglers over the last couple of patches, but this nerf, again, I think it's not actually going to make much of a difference. A 50% reduction in his resonance stack damage, all it's going to do is affect his first clear a little bit, so you're going to see him struggle a bit more. So if you're versing Echoes, I'd highly recommend trying to gank or invade his jungle during his first clear and really get him behind at that point, because this nerf, when you look at it in retrospect of all the patch notes, you can actually see jungles getting buffed this patch. So these nerfs to Echo's jungling ability, he's not really going to feel them because A, the jungle buffs are actually going to boost him up again. I mean, like all junglers. And B, it's not that big of a kind of damage reduction, especially, you know, after his first clear. So, and we all know Echo already struggles with his first clear, so it's not really going to make much difference, in my opinion, to how he's played, and I still think he's going to be dominating the Rift in the jungle role, and he does have his place in the mid role, so this isn't really going to change much about that. Ezreal's an interesting one because Ezreal has been a bit lost since Klepto went. People have been playing Omni Stone on him. I've seen some Lethal Tempo, I've seen some Conqueror, and really the only most consistent success I've been seeing is on Conqueror, and I think this is going to help him a little bit, but I still think he's going to be a bit of a niche pick and still a bit of a losty, similar to ADTF now, where without Klepto, this champion just kind of doesn't really have his place in the meta. So he's not unplayable by all means, but I think in the meta, there are just much better AD carries at the moment, like Misfortune, Jinx, Aphelios, Jhin. All these champions are a little bit better than Ezreal at the moment. But I still think he's a really good pickup when you need to play a safe lane, and these are really going to help him scale into the late game. So Ezreal's a good pick right now, but I still don't think he's as strong as he should be. Galio. So Galio's a good one because I think this buff to his Q, his Winds of War, is actually going to see him come back into the mid lane, I think. So right now, Galio, again, has been a bit of a losty, like Ezreal, since his recent nerfs. Where now he's kind of only played in support in certain situations or mid in very rare situations to counter a really heavy AP team comp. So this little addition to his Q, increasing the duration and the tick damage, we're going to actually see a I think we're going to see Galio really come back into the mid lane, which is kind of exciting, because while I hate Galio, I think he deserves to be in the meta because he does add an interesting element to the game with his global ulti as well as his CC and awesome engage. But also, he's very easy to kind of counterplay. So he's got that nice balance of a good Galio is going to be very good, but you can also counterplay him to an extent. Leona, one of those champions that has been smashing it in support simply because she has so much CC and she actually has so much damage to the point where when she has Ignite, she can pretty much one-shot the AD carry or support at level 6, and it's just becoming way too strong, and everyone's abusing it. And obviously there are some other supports in higher elo meta at the moment, but Leona, particularly in kind of that plat below, even diamond below, she's just too strong at the moment. So I think the nerf in her damage for her Eclipse and her Zenith Blade are a step in the right direction, but I think, you know, just 30 less damage isn't actually that much of a big deal. Her main problem is that she has so much CC and so much damage, and her engage kind of helps her in laning phase and in team fights, making her kind of this super good, versatile, tanky support that dominates the early game, dominates the mid lane, mid game, and dominates the late game. So Leona is still definitely going to be on the Rift, and I still think she's going to be played a lot. Maybe she might drop out of the meta a bit, but there's still too many Leona players out there who are going to keep playing her regardless of this 30 damage nerf. Miss Fortune's an interesting one because similar to Aphelios, she has been really strong in the bot lane. I think ranked 2 or 3 in terms of win ratio in the bot lane at the moment. And she's kind of doing really well because of her synergy with Press the Attack particularly. And also her double shot Q that, you know, if you kill a minion and it bounces onto an enemy, they get pretty much hit for 200% crit damage. So that's a real problem with her, and I think, again, this little nerf in her base stats is a step in the right direction, but I don't know how much this is actually going to affect her. It will affect her laning phase ability, but it's just going to mean you're going to have to optimize or utilize her W more, where you get that attack speed and movement speed buff. You're just going to have to make sure you use that at the right time, and you're going to be punished if you don't, because this little attack speed growth is really going to change her. But she also might start finding a attack speed build with this. If they're nerfing her attack speed, people might start building a bit more attack speed on her, which may actually change the outcome of her final build path, and therefore also help with kind of nerfing her a bit and toning down her damage, particularly in the mid and late game with her ult combo. Rumble, I've been abusing Rumble so much in the last couple of patches because he's so versatile. You can flex pick him mid or top. You can even play him jungle, support, or even bot lane. Really, you know, that's not ideal, but mid lane and top lane particularly, Rumble's been seeing a lot of dominance, particularly in the mid lane, because he's a melee mage that has a really nice kit. So his flamethrowers AoE, he's got an inbuilt shield and movement speed bonus, making him really easy to get out of ganks and to set up ganks and also roam. And then his E actually does a lot of damage, and particularly its slow is super strong. So these nerfs I'm kind of liking. Obviously they've just tweaked his base stats to round them off, but the nerfs in his scrap shield are, again, I think these are really good change to Rumble. Although I've been abusing him a lot, I think he did need a nerf, and I don't think this is going to make him unplayable. I think he's just going to tone down his laning phase ability to kind of out-trade pretty much anyone pre-level 6 just with his little combos, particularly when he's overheated. So that's a good one. Sejuani, now Sejuani's been suffering for the last couple of patches. I mean, she used to dominate the Rift, particularly in the jungle, but she's just kind of been lost ever since a couple of nerfs Riot did on her, and she really hasn't found her place back in the meta, and this is not her time to shine. These buffs in her base stat, bonus attack speed at level 1 it's pretty insignificant, and this frost armor removal, she really needs help in terms of other areas. She's kind of lost because all she is really an engage bot at the moment. There's better tanks out there, there's better engagers out there, and that's why I think she's struggling. Similar to someone like a Rammus, there's just better champions out there, your Zacs. Particularly your Zac is just such a stronger pick right now in terms of getting that tank jungler. So Sejuani still isn't going to come in the meta, but I think Riot is going to start looking at her. So stay tuned with Sejuani for the next couple of patches, because I do think she's going to get a little bit of focus area. These little nerfs to Senna, I don't think they're little nerfs actually. I think these are really good nerfs and really good steps in the right direction with Senna. But the problem with Senna is that her utility and her basic kit is the problem, not necessarily her ability to scale. I think this might see her be played in AD carry a little bit less, but I still think she's going to dominate support, particularly because of her invis, her ult, and her stun that is just super strong at the moment. She's really going to still have a place in the meta. We might see her win ratio in AD carry drop a little bit, but as a support, she's still going to be dominating. So Senna is going to be in the meta, I almost can guarantee you, for 10.3 and beyond, unless they look at her again. Set is an interesting one because Set has been the highest win ratio in jungle and mid and top lane, I think. And these nerfs are a good sign that Riot understands that Set is way too strong at the moment, but I don't know if they're going to be enough. I actually do think it's really good, and I think he's going to start struggling a lot more, particularly players who are just picking up Set. So people who have kind of already mastered Set, although he's been out, not very long, there are a lot of people out there who have already gotten really good at Set. I don't think they're going to struggle too much with these nerfs, but it's going to really disencourage new players picking up Set, and it's also going to tone down his early game fighting. I still think he's going to have a really good presence in the mid-late game, kind of like how Vi has with her ult. I think we're going to start seeing Sets really try and maximize their ults a lot more rather than that kind of dueling potential that they have with their Haymaker. Sona, this nerf I think is really targeted at like the 0.1% of Sona top lane players. This obviously is going to nerf her in support, but I think this main reason is they're really trying to get Sona and Soraka out of the top lane because they're literally beating every other top lane at the moment, and they kind of outscale them just because of their healing and shielding ability for their teammates. So this is a little good step, and I think Riot are really going to monitor Sona over the next couple of patches to see if she still dominates in the top lane. Yuumi, these ones are interesting. I haven't seen much Yuumi recently, and I think maybe people have gotten bored with her. Maybe they don't like her playstyle where she kind of just latches onto champions. I think some people like that, but the majority of players want to kind of get out onto the Rift and, move their champion around on their own rather than kind of dashing between their allies. And I think that's kind of the problem with Yuumi. Her kind of the way she's played is really niche. Kind of like Ivan, but at least Ivan is a lot more fun to play, I think, than Yuumi. They've both got really weird playstyles that never really find their way into the meta, but usually have their strengths and weaknesses that are quite flagged. So I think these are good changes to Yuumi. Obviously, they're nerfs, but I still think it's an interesting one, and I'm going to have to watch that because I don't actually know that much about Yuumi, but I think this is just going to make her be played less, which I think is a problem for the champion. Now, the jungle changes. Now, to be honest, I have been playing a lot of jungle at the moment, particularly since the nerfs that came in Season 10 and the preseason, and I don't think the jungle XP needed to be tweaked again. I think this is just going to allow junglers to again dominate the Rift. You could pretty much see, if you guys watch any of the pro junglers or solo queue players, you could see that none of them were really struggling with the new jungle changes, particularly because the power of Herald and Dragons really kind of made up for the nerfs that Riot implemented into terms of jungle XP and Krugs. So the good thing is that Krugs have been made a viable camp again. So the majority of players were still doing Krugs, but pretty much the top 1% of junglers realized that Krugs, in terms of return on investment, in terms of time, damage taken, gold received, and XP, really weren't worth doing and weren't actually doing them pretty much the entire game. They might have done them once or twice when they literally had nothing on the map, but no one was doing Krugs anymore. So I think this little buff, particularly to the Krugs, is going to make junglers look at bot lane a bit more again, because Krugs is a natural gank transition into bot lane. I knew personally I was ganking bot lane a lot less because there was less XP on that side of the map. Really, I was just doing red buff and raptors and then going back up to kind of your frog, your wolves, and your blue buff. So I think this is a really good change for jungle. I don't think we needed it, but I'm very happy about it because I love playing jungle at the moment. And I think these XP scalings are really going to benefit us. So really good. And then there's just VFX and SFX updates, which I'm not going to go through because they're a bit boring. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little patch note and patch note rundown with the win rates, play rates, and ban rates there. Again, if you want, I'm doing free profile reviews at the moment. I'll do them personally. You get a recorded video of me reviewing your account. Usually goes for about 10-15 minutes. I give you helpful tips based on your stats, your champion pool, what your rank goal is, and where you kind of want to go for Season 10. So if you're interested in that, just click the link in the description below, guys.